on financial management, which involves collecting rent, managing budgets, paying bills related to the property, and also maintaining accurate financial records. So those are the core responsibilities of a property manager. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So any other person? Okay, so Engineer Faith, please, you can start now.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Give me a minute to share my slide. My screen visible? Please confirm you can see my screen. You can do that with a thumbs up if possible.
You can see the screen now.
All right, thank you very much. All right, welcome everyone to today's class. I'll be taking us on customer service and stakeholders communication, pardon me. All right, so I want to introduce myself first before I hear from others. This class is always towards the end of the FMMC class, and one reason is because we need to learn all that we need to know regarding FM, and this is just one of the less technical courses. So introducing myself, I'm Engineer Faith Ekiyoyo. I'm a registered engineer with Koren. I have a dual background in engineering, petroleum engineering and biomedical engineering. I've been in corporate services for about 4 years now. I'm currently the head of corporate services at Max-Migold. I've worked in several organizations, oil and gas, auto service, and then in FM currently. I had a bachelor's degree in petroleum engineering and a diploma in biomedical engineering. I'm currently undergoing a second degree in applied business management at BYU Idaho. It's a privilege for me to be here to take us on this particular course, and I really want to go through the housekeeping rules. We know this is not the first class, so definitely we are familiar with this, that we need to try as much as we can to avoid interruption in the class. We should stay muted. We would also need to please raise our hands when we need to ask questions. I would also want to say that you can use the emojis attached to react to the lesson, even as we learn and go ahead. And I would want this class to be really interactive because it's not so technical. So because it's about what we go through every day as a facility manager. And to enable us to interact, I'll be asking questions at the end of each module. So we have 6 modules. So at the end of each modules, I would want to get reactions from us regarding what we've learned in that module. And I hope that by the end of this lesson, we would all take home something new that we would decide to do going forward. So the course objective is to help us understand the importance of communication in facility management. We will learn why effective communication is critical in FM. We will also understand the techniques for interacting with clients, teams, colleagues, and visitors. At the end of the course, we'll have a full grasp of the methods we can use to ensure high quality service delivery. We know that as FMs, our clients definitely want us to deliver top-notch services. And as we go about our duties, we need to keep learning and unlearning, so we can deliver our services properly. At the end, we'll also explore feedback collection methods. I'm sure many of us already do this in our facilities, so it will be a kind of reminder to us. We also understand strategies that would help us keep our stakeholders engaged and satisfied. There's need for us to know that we would have conflict at one point or the other in our facilities, in our environments, and it's important that FMs will learn to handle conflict and resolve them efficiently. We'll also learn on how to maintain a customer-focused culture. Customer-focused culture is when we put our customers first, not minding our role. So these things would actually help us deliver services properly. So like I said, we have 6 different modules: introduction and importance of communication in FM, customer service fundamentals, stakeholders identification and analysis, communication techniques and tools, conflict resolution and negotiation, and the last is building and maintaining relationships. So starting with the first module, introduction and importance of communication in FM. We all know that communication is vital, is a vital component in FM, and it affects every part of our operations. And we need to understand there are certain key principles that help us communicate effectively. We need to, for us to be able to have effective operations, clear communication ensures that we have smooth daily operations, aligning all our parties on goals and processes. So we need to understand that each organization, we have our goals, we have our visions, our missions, and then we have processes set down for us to carry out our operations. But we need to get familiar with these processes and also help our team get familiar with these processes. And when we do that, we'll see that it's easy for us to communicate. We've had issues or times when in our facilities, our stakeholders, so to say, maybe those are working with our team, we have a kind of barriers in communication. And most of the time, it is when we have escalations, so when we have issues, critical issues, that we eventually realize, after we must have probably done a root cause analysis, realize that it was a communication barrier that led to that issue. So these things happen, but we know that definitely for us to have effective operation, we need to have clear communication between all parties. Service quality, high quality customer service really rely on understanding and meeting client needs through effective communication. We need to understand what our customers or our clients are saying. We need to understand their needs to enable us deliver properly. I'm sure as we go into the lesson today, we would really understand all these things, knowing fully well that we need effective communication as regards stakeholder engagement and as regards problem solving. So the key elements of facility management, which we all know, is definitely people. People are the heart of facility management, whether we're talking about the clients or our visitors or our employees, all those around us. Each group has unique needs, and definitely understand the unique needs of each of these personals really help us to deliver on our services. So understanding the role of different people in FM helps us to deliver tailored service, knowing that each person have different needs, and then we need to tailor their needs towards, we need to tailor our services towards their needs and maintaining efficient operations. So the stakeholder overview, we need to categorize our stakeholders into 4 different parts: direct clients, management team, colleagues, and visitors. So within our spaces, it's important that we understand who our stakeholders are. So categorizing them into these 4 different groups would help us understand who they are. So the direct clients are the primary users of our services. The management teams definitely consist of our supervisors, executives, those that oversee the FM operations. And then our colleagues include those that work with us internally within the FM team. We also have our visitors that interact with the facility. So they come in day to day and interact with the facility. So each of these stakeholders have different needs, and we need to react, or we need to attend to their needs as needed. Please, the person that is speaking should please be muted. Thank you. All right, so moving on to now talking about the first module. Like I said, I would want to ask questions at the beginning at the end of each module. So the first question I want to ask regarding just this brief module we just had is, and I want us to try to respond with the chat box. What communication channel do you use most of the time and why? I know we've not gotten to the part of talking about the communication channels, but then as we know that we are talking about communication in our lesson today, which communication channel do you use often? And why do you use that particular one often? I would want to get responses from us. Okay, Ms. Philomena just said she uses email. Please tell us why you use email often. Philomena, please go ahead and tell us why you use email often. You can speak to the mic. Okay, she just dropped it. So she said, because that is our official mode of communication. Okay, Olamide is saying email and hard copy letters to vendors. Thank you. Okay, I need more responses. So we have 2 common response now, email. Okay, Emmanuel Isaac is saying he uses WhatsApp, direct call, email. Email seems to be predominant. Okay, thank you. WhatsApp and email. Okay, so it can be acknowledged, we can get acknowledged copies. Okay, so that is for the hard copy letters that go out. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. All right, so moving on to the second module, customer service fundamentals. Now, introducing us to customer service, we need to understand who our customers are. We need to understand how to assess their requirements. We need to also understand that we have to listen to the voice of our customers all the time. So now let's just define what customer service is. Customer service in FM refers to the support and services we provide to meet the needs and expectation of facility users. This is one definition. Now it's about how we interact with and respond to our clients. In the context in FM, examples could include when we have maintenance requests, we are trying to provide information to our clients, trying to ensure we have a safe and comfortable environment. So the key components of that, 3 key components of excellent customer service would be we having to respond to them effectively, we having reliability, and then empathy. Jenny McKenzie said, the customer is why we are here. If we take good care of them, they will give us good reason to come back. So definitely the reason why we have our facilities is because of the customers we have around us, either the clients, the users. So these people are why we are there as facility managers. And we know that if we take good care of them, they would always want us to come back. They will not say, oh, let's get facility management company A and B instead of what we have right now. So we need to understand the key elements that would help us become better facility managers and treat our customers right. Now, providing excellent customer service is key to successful facility management. Implementing customer service best practices, it creates improved customer satisfaction, develops a business culture of superior service. Mahatma Gandhi said, a customer is the most important visitor on the premises. He is not dependent on us, we are dependent on him. He is not an interruption of our world, he is the purpose of it. He is not an outsider to our business, he is part of it. We are not doing him a favor by serving him. He's doing us a favor by giving us an opportunity to do so. Now, this very last phrase is what I love most in this particular quote. Sometimes as FM, we feel we are doing our customers or our clients favors because, we are serving them, we are helping them take care of their facility, we are making sure the environment is safe, clean, and, okay for them to dwell. But then they are the one doing us a favor by giving us an opportunity to do so. Because if we, gather all our skills as FM and we do not have a facility to manage, our skills will definitely be useless. So they are there because of us. Now, the principles of excellent customer service. To provide excellent customer service in FM, we need to adhere to several key principles. I mentioned about 3 of them earlier: responsiveness, reliability, empathy, and proactivity. And then we have the feedback, which is really, really key. So being responsive means we quickly address a matter without getting our clients to escalate or prompt us to do so. So we already know their needs and we must get clarification on what they need. So we respond to them, quickly and efficiently by being responsive. Empathy is when we show understanding, we show care about the client's issues, not we feeling like, oh, this particular client, Mr. A, complains a lot, he does this. It's normal for us to feel that way, especially when we have some pain in the neck clients that would always complain of this or that. They are never satisfied. But then we need to show that we care. We need to show that we understand, how they feel. These things might not be easy, but as we push, we keep doing what we know how to do best. We get better at being empathetic in every situation. Reliability is about consistently delivering high quality service. When our client knows that when you are giving, when you need to carry out a particular task or you need to solve a particular problem for them, they don't need to talk too much. You already understand, and then you deliver, top-notch services for them. They know they can always depend on you. They know they can always come back to you, and this is because you always communicate with them. Okay, so proactivity also means anticipating client needs. It's important that as facility managers, we are not always, reactive. We need to be proactive. Now, being proactive means we attend to their needs even before they request for it. Now, this particular box we have that says excellent customer service means doing extraordinary things extraordinarily well, going beyond what is expected, adding value and integrity to every interaction, being at your best with every customer, discovering new ways to delight those you serve, surprising yourself with how much you can do, taking care of the customer like you would take care of your grandmother. This particular last one, got me like, how do I take care of my grandmother? In the West, their grandmothers are always, I don't know, there's this special treatment or special place in their hearts for their grandmothers. I remember while I was growing up, there was this particular song they teach us about a grandmother song anyway. And it was a white person that taught us that particular song. And I wonder why they took their grandmother, even sometimes more important than their own mother. So when I saw this particular statement, I wonder, how do we take care of our grandmother? But then I would say that I would want to replace this particular word with taking care of the customer like you would take care of anyone you hold dear, right? So it means you want to take care of the customers so that they would feel loved. They will feel like you really care about them. They will feel you really know their needs. Even if you do not know, you want to understand. You keep asking questions to be clear about what they really need so that you can satisfy them effectively. All right, so moving on. Customer service, it's important for us to analyze what our competitors do. We know as FMs in Nigeria, so to say, we have several FM companies. Can you ask yourself, what does facility management company A do that I don't do, that I feel will help me in my own company or where I currently work? So it's important for us to analyze what our competitors do, what they do to be able to provide, value to their customer. Let's ask questions, observe, analyze, and study our competitors. Now the question is, how do we do that? Fortunately, we have the FM body, we have the FMPN, we have the FMMC alumni also, where we have lots of professionals come together severally for meetings, activities, conferences. And we also have opportunity to, relate with business owners in several meetings or several gatherings. It's important that we find out what they do. Ask questions. It might not be, direct questions, but when you have discussions about what you do in your facility and what I can do best, it's important that we identify and emulate best practices. And most importantly, when we, go into trainings like this, try as much as you can to get learnings, try to, upskill from time to time. We'll see that it will be easy for us to avoid mistakes. We know that sometimes even these our competitors make mistakes too, right? So let's learn from their own mistake and make sure that we do not have that same mistake in our own facility. So that is why in forums like, the facility management alumni platform, for example, you will see people coming out to say, oh, I'm going through this in my facility. What can I do? People will start responding, to say, oh, I did this when I had this issue. And this other person will say, oh, don't do this. When I did it, it backfired and all of that. Let's try as much as we can to engage and connect and try to network with other facility managers so that we can learn what they do to become better. It's also important to know that our employees are definitely part of our facility. And as business owners, if we have business owners in our midst, it's important that we make our employees happy. A happy employee will definitely make a happy customer. I attended an event yesterday about how we relate with our employees as business owner and as HR, for example. And then your employees feel like, oh, it's my boss's business, it's not my business, let me just do what I can and earn my salary at the end of the month. But when an employee knows that, oh, they have a stake in the business, try to make sure that you involve them in decisions. As we as FM work with our team, for example, plumbing technicians, the electrical, all our maintenance team, try to involve them in, things, let them know what is happening in the organization, treat them well, so that when they, the way they feel will eventually translates to the way they treat their customers. So imagine the employees are not being treated right. Definitely they might snap at a customer, they might snap at a client, and these things will definitely rub off on the image of the company. So let's try as much as you can to these standards so that we can, have a good customer service. Now, I would want us to go through this particular case study, and I want us to react in the chat box on how you resolve such issue. Now, this is the case study of a successful customer service in FM. Now, the case study overview is about you having a major maintenance issue in a large corporate office, okay? So the issue or the situation right there is the HVAC system failure. So let's examine this real-world case study where this issue happens, HVAC system failure. What are the actions you need to take to be able to enable you, solve this customer's problem effectively? What do you need to do? Now, the problem, like I said, involves a critical HVAC system failure during the peak business hour, for example, affecting the comforts of the business and definitely the productivity of employees. The action that we need to take would definitely from the FM team would be to first identify the issue. Let's find out the cause of the problem. What is the reason? Why did this HVAC system, why did it fail? Okay, and how do we do that? You go about, with your maintenance team, find out what the issue is, and then the next thing is for you to communicate with your stakeholders. So once you have identified the issue, you communicate with the affected department and coordinate swift repair, okay? Not waiting to, I don't know, just waste time, drag your feet to feel like, oh, let me do it when I can. After all, I've been doing one or two things before now. So, and it's also important for us to communicate effectively from time to time, right from identification of the issue down to when the issue is resolved. So now the outcome of the result of the issue would be for us to resolve the issue, ensure that the client feels our trust and is satisfied with our service that we must have given. And the only way we can do that is being prompt and effective. And the question I would want to ask from here is, what would you do differently? These are the 4 actions that you need to take. What would you do differently in this situation? A major maintenance issue, okay? HVAC system failure. What would you do differently in this particular situation? You can unmute and speak if you want to, please.
Okay. To add to this, especially when it's going to stay long, and sometimes some offices are an enclosure where you don't really get air. So once there's an HVAC failure, it's the hotness will be so much that people may not be comfortable at all again. So what you need to do is, I can personally will do, I will look for fans. I'll look for fans to be able to cushion the effects. And when we have some offices that their windows can be open, you open so that they can get while this repair, the time of the repair lasts.
Okay. Thank you very much for that response. Any other person, please?
Okay. While communicating the progress made so far, I think it's important to also apologize for the inconveniences. So I will add apology to my own point.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Does any other person want to respond? All right. So in essence of that,
actually, I didn't get the question very well.
Now the question is, what would you do? What would you do in this situation? You have a major maintenance issue, HVAC system failure in your facility. What would you do to be able to, in the course of you responding to the issue, down from the beginning of identifying the issue down to when the repair is done? What would you do?
Okay, the first thing is, you will not just come over and start shutting down the various machine of facility. You have
We lost you there. Are you there?
to communicate to the various laptop. You also need to set up
Your network is really poor. I can hardly hear you. Okay. All right. So one thing I would want to add is, from the time this issue is identified, or from the time you get the escalation, we need to communicate to the department involved. communicate to them to say, oh, we have this issue right now, and we need to identify the cause of this issue. At the moment you've identified the cause of the issue, definitely you will know probably an idea of how long it will take you to fix that issue. You will need to communicate to the stakeholders to say, oh, it will take me so time, while you are setting up alternative, okay, that they can use to at least stay comfortable pending when the issue will be resolved. Please, can we stay muted? Thank you. All right, so, and as we go about the repair, if there is anything that will make, maybe there will be delay or something, it's also important for you to communicate back to them to say, oh, it's taking longer than usual. My point is, let's try as much as we can to communicate at every point so that our clients or our customers will feel and know that we are doing what we can to make sure that the issue is resolved. And the moment we are done with that repair, we also communicate to them to say, oh, the issue has been resolved and all of that. So communication at every point is really important. All right, moving on to the next module, stakeholder identification. Now we know that, like I said earlier, it's important for us to identify our stakeholders. This is a very, very critical step in managing facilities effectively. Now, stakeholders are individuals or groups within an organization or within a facility. They have an interest or stake in the FM operation. So now, in the course of learning this, we'll come to understand that their interest or their power actually varies depending on who they are. Now, the stakeholders group, we have four main groups: the direct client, the management team, colleagues, and visitors. Now, it's important for us to know that this understanding who our stakeholders are will help us understand their needs and expectations. Now, let's really go back and define who a customer is. Remember with this, we defined what customer service is earlier. Now, talking about who we consider as a customer in our organization, especially in the context of facility management, we often feel or think that a customer is anyone that pays for our services. But in FM, a customer is someone who directly exchanges, in other words, someone who directly exchanges their money for goods and services. Okay, for goods and services we provide is definitely a customer. So a person or organization that exchanges the goods and services, sorry, this. Okay, pardon me. So a person or organization that exchanges the goods or services provided by your organization or anyone who pays for your organization to exist. The second definition is a person or organization that one has to do with, that one has to deal with in their day-to-day working world is a customer. Now the question is, between these two definitions, which one relates to us more as an FM? It is definitely the second one, because it doesn't really necessarily mean someone that pays for a service. Like we identified the stakeholders in the previous slide, our team members, our staff, the people that interact with the building day to day, our bosses, for example, all these people, they are actually customers. But then we need to understand who they really are and what their needs would be. So customers are both paying and non-paying members of our working world. They don't have to pay for the service to be a customer. Now, we have, under the customers, we have the end users, the caretaker, the decision maker, and also your FM team. So now that we've understood a broader concept of who a customer is, it's important that we take a closer look on the different type of customers and how we may encounter them in a facility. And we can do this by recognizing their roles. Now, the end user is definitely initiates or requests for our services. So in our facility, our clients are definitely the end user. And the caretaker, we or our FM team members. Decision makers could be the FM himself, depending on how large the organization is, or the C-suite. All right, then we have the FM team themselves. Now we're going to use the stakeholder analysis to understand their interest or their power. So once the stakeholders have been identified, the next step we need to do is to analyze their interest and their influence in the organization. Now, the purpose of this analysis is to help us assess their interest so we can know how to work with them, as regards our operations. Now, this is a matrix that we use. It's a 4-quadrant divided into, the x-axis and the y-axis. Now, as you can see, this particular diagram we have here is the stakeholders analysis matrix, or it is also called the interest versus power matrix, used to analyze who a stakeholder really is and the level of power or interest they have within the organization. Now we have on this y-axis, the y-axis is the power, while the x-axis is the interest. Now y-axis is the vertical line, while the x-axis is the horizontal line. So the y-axis has the power or the influence, so we can call it either of the two. And then this, so this x-axis is where how we measure the interest, how interested they are in the business. Now on the first quadrant, which is the top left, it's saying that those within the high power and low interest area, we need to keep them satisfied. We need to put in enough effort to keep them satisfied. We need to make sure the communication is just enough. Chances are there that they are not interested in the nitty-gritties of the project. Now, right now, this is those that have high power and low interest, which means there's little they can do with regards to decisions. There's little they can do. There's a lot they can do rather with the decisions or with the outcome of the business. But when it comes to their interest, they don't care how the business moves. They don't care if the business is making money or if you have losses or you have profits. What matters is they want to just make sure that the business runs, and they even have as much power to shut down the business. So as we go through this, I want us to have it or think in our mind who these people are. Now, those in the high interest and high power, that's the top right now. High interest and low power, where we have managed closely. These people make great effort to satisfy. We need to make great effort to satisfy them. We need to communicate with them regularly. We need to also make sure that they are always on our side. Who are those within our spaces that have that high level of influence or power within our organization? At the same time, they are interested in the profits or the losses, so to say, within the business. Now let's come down to the bottom left. The bottom left is where we have the low power and low interest. Low power and low interest. Now these people, we just need to monitor them. All we need to do is to make sure that we don't have any problems with them. We need to also make sure that we keep in touch with them from time to time. Who are these people? Now coming down to the top bottom right, those with high interest and low power. Now these people are interested in the business. They are interested in the business. They want to see the business progress. They want to make sure that, the business succeeds. But then they don't have so much power as regards decision. Who are these people? But now this particular matrix really help us understand who the key players are, who the supporters are, who the potential influencers are, and who the minor stakeholders are. So that the key players are the ones that have high interest and high influence. Those are the key players. Now the supporters are those that have high interest, but their influence is really low, or their power is really low. Now the potential influencers are those that have low interest. They don't have any interest in the business, but they have high influence. They can shut down the business. And then we have the minor stakeholders who have low interest and low influence. Now, so the steps for conducting this stakeholder analysis is for us to, like I said, divide need to divide this into the x-axis and then the y-axis and measure the level of interest they have. Now, in this next slide, let's understand who they are. Now, the key players. Okay, I wanted us to respond to that before I move to the next slide. Can we identify in the chat box who the low interest, high power is? So now, can you identify who these people are? Those that have low interest and high power. Who are those people within your organization or outside the organization? Low interest, high power. They are called potential influencers. I hope you can see the slide.
Yes, can we call them the regulatory agencies?
Thank you. You are very, very correct. They are the regulatory agencies. They don't care if you make money. They don't care if the business is succeeding. All you need to do is to make sure that you are delivering on your papers are okay, all your licenses and permits are intact. Because if they are not intact, they will come for you. They can shut down your business. So now it means we need to what? Make sure that these people are satisfied at all times and communicate with them as often as we can. Thank you. Now let's go to the next part. Who are those people that have high interest and high power? They are the key players. They are the key players within the business. Who are those people? Can anyone tell us who these people are? High interest, high power.
Owners of the organization.
Thank you. Owners,
entrepreneur.
Thank you, entrepreneur. Thank you. Who else? Who else can we identify as key players?
The stakeholders.
Okay, stakeholders.
Can I also say the investors?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you. Investors. Anybody that have a stake as regards finance in the business, we refer to them as the key players because they have high interest and high influence in the business. Now let's go to low power and low interest. So the low power and low interest, they are minor stakeholders. Who are these people? Do we know who they are? I'm not getting any response yet.
Can we say subordinate staff like the cleaners, the security?
The cleaners and securities, let's not forget that they're interested in making sure that the business succeeds, because if the business does not succeed, they don't get paid. Correct?
Yes, noted.
Okay, thank you. So who are those that have low interest, low power? They don't care. All they need to do is I don't want to give us clues. I just need answer.
Customers.
Sort of. Not direct customers.
Vendors.
Because your customers, vendors, casual visitors, the public. Okay? Those that walk into your facility and then just go out. They just come in and do their business and leave. Whether the business is succeeding, it's not really their business. So the reason why they have low interest is because they just have their own business to run and then leave. And the reason why they have low power is because they don't have any influence with regards the runnings of the business. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the last quadrant,
sorry, ma.
Yes, please.
Sorry, ma. You said the high power, low interest. Is that the category we just mentioned now?
No, the category we just mentioned now is low interest, low power.
And low power. Okay. Thank you, ma.
Yes, low interest, low power. All right, so moving on to the last quadrant, which is high interest, low power. That is the part that we just mentioned now. When we mentioned employees, those that at least they have a stake in the business in a way. They want to see the business succeed, but there's little or nothing they can do with regards decision making. Our FMT, maybe the maintainers, the cleaners, those that are not in the C-suites, they are not decision makers within the organization. They are in the high interest, low power. You need to keep them adequately informed. You need to let them know what is happening within the organization. You need to make sure that issues do not arise. You need to also make sure that they are most likely interested in the processes or projects within the organization. Okay, let's move to the next slide to get it clearer. Okay, so high interest, low power, the key players, senior management, key clients, major investors. So someone mentioned in the chat customers. So customers falling under high interest, high power. Now this is because they have a stake in the business. They care about you making their facility, for example. Okay, but then again, they can decide to leave you. If they leave you, what happens to you? You don't have a facility to manage anymore. So that is why they have high interest and high power. High interest, low power, facility users, operational staff. Low interest, high power, government regulators, external partners, media. And then the low interest, low power, casual visitors, and the public. So now we use this matrix to understand how we can, first of all, identify them and know how to go about communicating with them, so that we can effectively have, know what they want and deliver on the necessary services. One way to do this is to, not just as facility managers, it's important that we do this analysis from time to time and involve our team members. Because sometimes as facility managers, you know how to communicate with these people because you have done the analysis yourself. How about your subordinates? How about those that work with you? Do they know how to go about communicating with these people? What if you are not there? What if you are on leave? Does the next person understand how to go about, communicating with these people? So now, another easier way to go about using that matrix, in case you get confused with the X and Y axis thing, is for you to use maybe a spreadsheet, something like this. Write out all the stakeholders you have, regulatory councils and all of that, your client names, your the decision makers, your investors. Just write down their names on the first column, and then you now have this other two column, power and interest, and then you indicate which is high and which is low. And then you can create a fourth column where you can add how to go about communicating with them. Now, for example, the regulatory authorities, how do you go about communicating with them? We know we're in Nigeria, there are several ways of communicating with them. Can someone respond to us in the chat box? How do we communicate with regulatory authorities?
When you say regulatory authorities, like the FROS, right?
FRS,
Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. First of all, you must arrange a soft landing. Don't forget that they are the one coming to audit your accounts. From experience, they are the people that when they come to the office, you ensure that they are well entertained. You provide all the necessary things they need, and from time to time, do a follow-up.
Okay, thank you. How about Loma? Most of the time when we talk about regulatory authorities, what comes to our mind most times will be the money aspects. How about the nitty-gritty of our facility itself? How do we dispose our refuse, our waste, sewage system and all of that? How is it in place? Are we in line with regulatory? So I actually wanted us to respond via chat. How do you communicate with them? Do you do that via phone call, via email? Is it hard copy documents? How do you communicate with them? These things matter. As we move, I want us to speed up a bit. As we move ahead in the course, really understand how to go about that. And that is the next module we'll be taking, communication techniques and tools. Now, within the facility, we need to consider who our primary customers are. We need to understand who they are. This is often a critical relationship that shapes what we do daily. So the primary customer would be our boss, senior management team, because we don't want to get fired, okay? We don't want to be on the wrong side of our bosses. So within the organization, our boss and senior management will often be seen as a primary customer because they set direction of the company, they establish the standards, they have a final say to whatever happens within the organization. They also have a final say with regards to allocation of resources. So their expectation and feedback is really, really important. How do we communicate with them? Now, the voice of the customer is really, really important. So within our organization, the department, outside the company, we have direct ways and indirect ways to communicate. We have through phone calls, email, social media, several ways in communicating. But then we need to identify which is the most effective. Imagine sending an email to LIRS or FIRS, for example. You will hardly get a feedback, right? Most of the time, you have to go in person to visit their office, because when you call some of the regulatory bodies, they'll tell you, oh, they don't receive phone calls. You have to either come down to the office. And as technology evolves, it seems they don't want to evolve with technology, right? But then we still have to do the manual way of, visiting them. So, but most of the time we have to, just like Moyi just responded, via email or using a letter or a company letter-headed paper. So this is really, really key, because most of the time they will tell you they want to see correspondence of how you've been communicating with them. So it's important as FMs, you have a folder or a file where you have all the correspondence you've had from the time from inception till date, so that if any issue occurs, you can easily fall back on those documents, to have eventually have an effective communication. So our bosses, for example, how do we communicate with our bosses? Depending on how large the organization is. Some organizations rely on just WhatsApp, while some we have to, enforce that to communicate with all stakeholders within the organization via email. You need to identify what works best for you within your organization. What works best in my organization might not work in your own organization. So we need to really identify these things, not analyzing it in a generic way. Understand who they are and how you need to go about, communicating with them. So we have several communications. I want to just skip most of these because it's what we can really read up, knowing fully well that we have several ways of communicating. Now, communicating generally now, when it comes to, our operations as FM, we have non-verbal communication, face-to-face, mobile, electronic, written, and all of that. Sometimes we need to go as far as preparing a presentation to communicate maybe a decision we want to make, right? So there are several ways we need to do this, but understanding which works best for us really, really go a long way. So we can read all this up ourselves, the verbal communication, knowing we need to know that our tone, not just our verbal tone, non-verbal communication too requires tone. We need to learn how to send emails. We need to understand that we need to start with a salutation and end with a closing, okay? Not just because you feel you are within the same organization, the person knows you and understands who you are. You just respond to an email without any salutation, or you send an email to say, I need so, just put the request there and then send out. Regardless of which organization you are, it's important you learn to be professional as much as possible, because you may not remain in that organization for so long. You might move to another organization that take communication seriously and professionally. So let's learn to, communicate effectively. Written communication is really, really key in FM. There was a time, when I was in school, then they would tell you most of our courses were definitely technical, and it got to a part where we need to do the, general courses, the English and, and all of that. And then they will tell you, oh, engineers, they don't really know how to write, or they don't know how to express themselves and all of that. All they know is being technical. We can see this in our technical team. Most of the time, all they want to do is to engage with their hands, physically, and they don't want to get involved with reporting and all of that. And we know that in FM, reporting is really, really key. That is how you communicate what you have done. Imagine running a facility for a whole year, doing all you can, but then you don't have reports. How do you now prove to the client that you did something? The client can come today and say, oh, you were here for a whole year and you did nothing, because you don't have any evidence to show. But communicating with the client to say, oh, reports, or communicating with your boss too could say you've been here a whole year, you've done nothing, because you don't have any reports, or you've not been communicating effectively. So these things are really key. You need to use clear and concise language, organize our information in a logical way, maintain a professional and appropriate tone. This is really key. Listening and feedback is really also important. We need to understand that the tools we use as regards communication, it's an open channel. We need to make sure that we have clear communication. Communication is not complete when you send your boss a message and you don't get a response, or you send your team members to do something either via WhatsApp and you don't get an acknowledgement. That is not communication. The message becomes distorted. So let's try as much as we can to make sure that we receive feedback each time we communicate. This will enable us to understand and know if the message was passed appropriately. It will also help us understand if we ourselves do not misinterpret the message. Now, clarification is important in communication. It involves offering, back to the speaker the essential meaning as understood by the listener. You need to ask questions. I'm not quite sure what you're saying. Do you mean this? Okay. When you said this, is this what you said I should do? Oh, I didn't get that right. Can you repeat what you just said? So these things will help us clarify and make sure we get exactly what the client needs. For example, we want to start up a facility management operations with a new client. We know definitely we need to make sure that the SLA is in place. But then if you just get an SLA because you just feel, oh, you don't go through it, you just sign it up, and moments later, you have an escalation and it does not relate with the content of the SLA, how do you resolve such issue? So these things are really, really important. As far as we are communicating, whether verbally or non-verbally, we need to always get clarification. In customer service communication also, assertiveness and empathy are key interpersonal tools. Assertiveness helps us to communicate clearly and respectfully. It also allows us to express ourselves, our thoughts, our needs without being aggressive or being passive about it. These things will help us to build confidence. It will help us to reduce stress. It will help us to handle conflict, help us to handle difficult conversations with our customers or with our stakeholders. So being assertive will actually help us in respect and help us keep our communication very open and professional. On the other hand, empathy enables us to truly understand the emotions behind the other person's words. It helps us to recognize their emotions, and the influence of their message. So we need to really understand, through their tone and body language, we can really understand what the other person is saying. So these key things will help us drive home, the message and better help us have a better customer experience. Now, we know that there are several barriers to communication. Some of the barriers to communication will be negative body language. Sometimes even silence could be a negative or a barrier to effective communication. So I would want to ask, please respond in the chat, not with the mic, please. Which of the communication barriers have you ever had or do you face at the moment within your space? Which communication barrier do you face currently? We know there are times when we have psychological moments where maybe you had an issue back home or outside the office, and then coming down to the office, you tend to become maybe aggressive, or your body language changes, or you become silent, or there are several ways or several barriers to communication. Which one have you faced recently, or which one do you face currently? Okay, it seems none of us, I don't think any of us have, I'm sure we are, maybe we are not responding, but then we know that these things happen within our spaces. One very important one I want to talk about is information overload. Managing information is really critical, okay? So when we talk about our relating with our stakeholders, for example, it's important that we do not, carry on too much, information, especially when we don't prioritize the things we are doing. As FM, we can be really, really stressed sometimes. We have to resolve this issue, issue A, issue B, issue C, a lot of issues to resolve. And sometimes we feel weighed down. We feel like, oh, so much on my head right now, which will eventually make us not to communicate properly. Sometimes we forget to even tell the next person to do this or do that. At this point, what do we need to do? We need to what? Call for help. We need to make sure that we slow down, try to process whatever we are going through. Most of the time, I would always advise we write things down, right? So that we can always resolve issues as much as we can and not feel frustrated and not miscommunicate. So these things will help us deliver on, carry on, relevant information and keep things professional. Okay, so I want us to stop here a bit, take a maybe 5 minutes break and come back for the rest of the hour. So we have about, I think we have 3 modules left. By the time we come back by 6:17, we should be back, please. So Kenny, please, can you drop on the chat box that we are currently on break for 5 minutes to be back by 6:17? Thank you.
Okay, all right.
All right, welcome back. It's 6:17. I hope you are back. Please let me see some reactions, some thumbs up if you are back, please.
Back online.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. All right, so we can go ahead. Now, I quickly want to talk about the various All right, so I quickly want to talk about the various barriers we have in our spaces. Now, there are several barriers, but the ones that are really, really common to our facility would be psychological barriers. We have some attitudinal barriers that affect our communication. We also have some perceptual barriers. Now, these psychological ones could be induced by stress or biases. So when you have biases within your organization, for example, especially maybe with your team, there's one person that it's so obvious that you focus on that one person. You don't care about how the others carry out their task. These things could affect communication because they will feel like, oh, it was only this person that was informed. This other person was not informed. So these things could actually cause issues within the organization. When you have perceptual barriers also, this could be misinterpretation of whatever must have been said, conflicting messages. Okay, when you have different interpretation of the same instruction, this particular thing can actually affect how a service is being delivered, assuming like, oh, your team members, they know what they're supposed to do, so there is no point communicating with them. This is perceptual. When you have organizational barriers too, for example, when you have too much hierarchy, okay, you need to get to the MD, but then you need to send to your supervisor before you go to the FM, before the FM will report to, it takes about maybe 6 steps before it gets to whoever you want to report to. These things can actually water down communication, especially when it is not being done in a structural way. Now, these things are so important. And one way to avoid them is to make sure that we use clear and simple language, make sure we have a structure as regards our communication. We've talked about the tools we use for communication, so I'll skip that. All right, so I really want to talk about this briefly. We have several types of feedbacks for our stakeholders. We have the customer service feedback, for example. We have employee survey feedback, the vendor surveys. It's important that we have these surveys so that we can, gather them and then know how to do better with regards to our service. Now, the benefit of using these surveys is to help us identify areas of strength and weakness. There are some organizations that use the 360 feedback, for example. You get response from your subordinates, and your subordinates also get, feedback from you, so that both parties can balance up and do things better. So it's important that we try as we can to use this feedback system to be able to, eventually get better. I'll skip all this part because we can read up. Customer surveys, do's and don'ts. We know that definitely it's important that our customer survey is tailored towards what we really want to measure. It has to be specific, it has to be measurable. We cannot just send questions out because we feel we need answers to them. Because one very important thing is to make sure that our customer surveys are not so lengthy. Imagine you have about 20 questions for a customer to respond to. They will definitely not respond to such survey. Let's try as we can to always close the loop. Make sure that we identify just simple questions that would make us get feedback from them, not questions that would enable them answer a yes or no, but questions that will make them express themselves about a service that must have been rendered. One important thing is about the FM report also. I mentioned earlier, your report is very, very important. It's an evidence that you've done something. If you do not have your report in place, it seems you have done nothing for that period, whether the month or the quarter or whatever it is. But let's make sure that your accomplishments is stated. Whatever you accomplished for that particular period, whatever you need to improve on is stated, and whatever you need to, your goal for the next period, whether the next quarter or the next month or the next year, is stated in your report. So FM monthly reports, for example, should have for your operations, for example, you need to have what you've accomplished for the month. You need to have the things you need to improve upon, and then your set goals for future for the next month. And one other thing you can add to your report is probably the operational challenges you face, so that the manager or the decision makers or whoever your report is about, you can be aware of whatever you are going through, so that these issues can be trashed beforehand. Taking it to the C-suits, it's just similar to what I'm saying now. It's important that you try as you can to be generous with your reports. There is no, as far as I'm concerned, there is not too much reports. The more reports you give, the more visibility top management have over what you are doing. So it's important you do that so we can, get better. Now, the last module, so not the last, second to the last, is regarding conflict resolution and negotiation. We know definitely that in our spaces, conflict is inevitable, okay? And negotiation too is inevitable. We need to learn how to resolve and, be on the same page with our clients, be on the same page with our employers, and decision makers. So conflict is definitely inevitable, and the common sources of conflicts we have will be resource allocation. We have disputes over the use of resources. We know out there, most of the time, especially companies that are not really familiar with facility management, all they know is, oh, facility management is about spending money, right? But then the moment you are able to structure yourself to let them understand that, oh, this is what you need to do, have a plan and have a structure towards delivering your service, it will be easy for you to manage such conflicts that might come up. Miscommunication is you misunderstanding and having a lack of clear communication within your with your stakeholders. Differing on priorities. I mentioned earlier that as FM, it's important that we know how to set our priorities right, identify our goals, and try to set our priorities right. You have personal issues. When you have conflicts that relate with interpersonal relationship with your team, for example, when the FM team, for example, the plumbing technician does not want to work with electrical technician. At some time, there's some projects where all of them will have to come together to do the job. And then they need to communicate with each other to say, oh, I've done this and this is what I want to do next, or I have to feed this other person with the information about what I'm doing. If we do not have interpersonal relationship, it would affect and definitely bring conflict. So the impact of this conflict is it will definitely decrease productivity, it will lower their morale, and most importantly, disrupt the operation. So these things are really, really key. Conflict resolution it's a skill that every FM needs to have, because most of the time you tend to be a mediator in these scenarios or in these conflict issues that happen within our spaces. So mediation is usually a neutral third party helping to resolve an issue. The strategies involved is mediation, problem solving, active listening. Active listening is really important because more important than speaking is listening. Because the more you listen and understand, the more you are able to articulate and then pass across the message you are meant to pass. Now, there's a scenario I wanted us to go through, and I want us to respond on the chat box, please, on the chat box. I have two scenarios. The first scenario in this conflict issue is concerning a maintenance schedule. Remember I said in this particular scenario, the facility manager is the mediator. So the issue here is a critical piece of equipment in the facility needs urgent maintenance. Okay, and we definitely have proposed maintenance schedule now conflicts with a major event planned by one of the training departments. Now, the stakeholders involved in this conflict is the maintenance team, the event organizers, and facility manager. So now the conflict we have here is the maintenance team insists on immediate repairs to prevent a potential breakdown. Remember that there was a proposed maintenance schedule. Okay, there was already a maintenance schedule, an existing one, but it's now conflicting with a major event. Now the event organizers they are arguing that the training the training team now, they're arguing that the maintenance will disrupt their planned event, and which will eventually lead to dissatisfaction and maybe cause financial losses. The maintenance team is insisting on carrying out their repair, and the event organizers are insisting on, carrying out their event without the maintenance being done. How will you resolve this issue as a facility manager? I think a chat will not do with this. Can you signify so you can, let's respond to this particular conflict. How would you respond to this? Or how would you mediate in this particular conflict? I hope you got the scenario clear.
Okay, hello.
Did I repeat myself? Yes.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
yes, what I'm just thinking is this, if the maintenance is not, or if the facility that has been damaged, let me put it that way, the cause, or let me say the level of damage is not to that level, on the eye level, to the level that it can cause problem for the event planning. If the damage is minimal, or maybe you look at that. Okay, let me paint a scenario of maybe you want to use a generator. Now that generator, you just want to use that generator for maybe like 30 minutes. And you know that the generator is not in good condition, it is not good for you to use. And you are now looking at it like the way that maybe within 30 minutes that you want to use it, maybe it will not break down. You look at it that way, that it will not break down. Definitely, you can quickly use it in order to achieve what you want to achieve within that time. So if the event planner notice that, okay, this thing that they want to use, the facility they want to use, maybe the havoc that has been on it, or the damage that has been on that facility is not much, maybe it's minimal, to the level that they can quickly use it for the time being that they want to use it. I think the event planner can quickly make use of it. I think if I'm to be the facility manager, I will look at the level of damage that I think the facility can has gotten to. So if I look at it that, okay, by the time the event planner can use that, by the time they use it maybe for 2 days, it will not, the facility will not break down. I will definitely give them, if I'm to be the facility manager, I will tell them that, okay, let them quickly use, they should quickly use the facility within that 2 days that I've maybe think that it will not break down. Then, so that so that event planner will not lose out.
Okay, can I
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Isaac. Please go ahead.
Okay, number one, as a facility manager,
please be brief.
There are some, as a facility manager, there are some situations you must not allow to emerge. Situation whereby, because you want to please the people organizing the event, so that they will not lose money, you will not allow some certain things to happen with the equipment of the organization. The total breakdown will not occur, and at the end of the day, the blame will not come to you as a facility manager. That may result to a sack or an inefficiency on your own part. So, as for me, if that information will be passed to me before the event, the first thing I should do is to assess. For example, now my brother used generator as an example. Is to assess generator. How many generators do we have? If, for example, there are 2 generators, I should be smart enough, having envisaged the situation that may occur ahead. I should be smart enough to quickly feed one of the generators to make sure it's okay for them to be able to use during the event, so that nothing will go wrong. Knowing fully well that if anything goes wrong, the consequences will be more on me as facility manager or my team than the event organizers that we are trying not to disappoint. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, let's not forget that when there is a breakdown or when there is an escalation, the people hardly blame the maintenance team or whoever is. The facility manager is the go-to person. All right. So, and when resolving conflicts like this, it has to be a win-win situation. You cannot please one team and displease the other. You cannot tell the event because you feel, oh, you've checked and then it's okay. You now decide to, move your maintenance schedule, away from, from the particular time you've proposed. So let's understand that it has to be a win-win situation. So what you need to do is to, first of all, explore an alternative maintenance time. If the time is, for example, in the morning before the event, when can you do that maintenance? Can it be after hours? Can it be during less critical periods? So just identify a time that you can, an alternative time, or just like what I think Mr. Emmanuel said just now, an alternative arrangement, maybe another generator if it's generator that is the issue. So there should be an alternative. In that way, the maintenance team wins, the event organizers also win because the event will still go ahead. And one other thing you need to do is to make sure that you clearly communicate with all the parties involved and you mutually agree to that solution. Okay, you don't say, okay, because the maintenance team, they are reporting to you, you decide to favor the event organizers and decide to, say, oh, let the maintenance team, they should just, So it's important you communicate clearly and allow them to have a mutual agreement. So another thing you can do is to implement temporary fixes to mitigate immediate risk. Like, just like we use the generator as example, for example, if you know it's something that is not so critical, just do something temporary that would work within the time frame so that after the event, you can now have a full repair. These are things that can be done in this particular scenario to make sure that the event holds and the maintenance team, they're also happy with their job. So this is how, that is my response to this particular scenario. And the major thing I want to point out is that when resolving conflicts, make sure it's a win-win situation. The two parties involved must win. One cannot win while the other is, not happy about the decision. All right, so let's move to the second scenario. The second scenario is money matter, which is really common, as FM. So it says the annual budget for the facility includes allocation for both upgrading security system and enhancing the HVAC system. Budget is insufficient to cover both projects fully. Stakeholders involved are security team, the HVAC team, the finance department, and the facility manager. And the conflict here is the security team argues that upgrading the security system is critical due to recent incidents and potential safety risk, which means something happened recently that makes the security team, deciding to upgrade the security system. Then the HVAC team emphasizes the importance of enhancing the HVAC system to improve energy efficiency and occupant comfort. These are the two key things they are looking at. But let's remember that the budget is insufficient to cover both projects. What would you do as a facility manager? I want someone else other than Mr. Emmanuel and who was the second person that spoke earlier, Mr. Shion, someone else other than the two to respond to this conflict scenario. I hope it's clear.
Okay, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm Dominic by name. Okay, to me, I feel as in when those two teams should bring their own issues like that, as a facility manager, you take into the issues and see the one that is more delicate and prioritize that. Like, to me, I feel the security issue should be taken into consideration first before the HVAC system, though you must be able to give a very conducive environment for your workers to work. But in terms of security, I think that security should be paramount. That's my own contribution, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
So
okay, Philomena, please go ahead.
Yeah, to add to that, we cannot override the importance of communication like we have established here. There's need to come to a round table to discuss intensively and see what can be done now if we cannot present a supplementary budget to cover, to be able to attend to both projects. Like he said, there's need for prioritization. You need to prioritize the most important one. Like there have been an incident, security is everybody's concern. So I think they look at that first, then look at in the next budgeting phase, you now take this other one because it's an upgrade. It's not like there's none at all. So you begin to look at the intensity of the need.
Thank you. Does any other person want to respond? Okay, Esther, please go ahead.
Okay, like you rightly said earlier on about a win-win situation. If we look at the background, it says budget is insufficient to cover both projects fully. So that means the two parties can sit down together and divide whatever they have, in the budget, since security is important, and at the same time we are looking at the comfort of the employees. They need to be productive, and if you are not comfortable working, then it will affect productivity. So, like you said again, a win-win situation. So they can come together at the round table and discuss how they can share the available funds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, I totally she just said what I was about to say. It's to be a win-win. So for me, what I would have done is I'll share it into two. What I can cover when it comes to security, this is very important, like you raised. I'll do that for the first project. Then for the ACs, it's important my people are comfortable as well. So I'll share into two. I'll do one today and then the other one the next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your contributions. Now, just like we mentioned, the first thing we need to do is to evaluate the urgency and importance of each project. Let's not forget that we have a security system in place, just that an upgrading needs to be done. Now, for the HVAC also, they emphasize the importance of enhancing the HVAC system, which means there was something in place. The only thing they need to do is to improve energy efficiency, right? And then the occupant's comforts. So we need to, first of all, evaluate the urgency and importance of each of the projects. But evaluating it does not mean only the facility manager. The HVAC team and the security team needs to be present during this evaluation. Now, think about safety, think about compliance, and then think about the overall impact of the facility. These are the three things you need to think about in this situation, right? So facilitate a meeting with all the stakeholders to discuss the needs and the potential compromises that can occur within this situation. And just like we noted, the security team, they mentioned that there was an incident recently. So it means something needs to be done. But the HVAC team also, the occupants' comfort is really, really important. So definitely both of them has to get something. So what we can consider is to have a phased implementation, like a partial upgrade for both projects, okay? So this is, and I think many of us forgot the fact that we have the finance department in this particular scenario. It is not just the security team or the HVAC team. So if maybe we've resolved with the security team and HVAC team, and we've come to an agreement that, okay, we'll have a phased implementation, maybe it's the second or third quarter, let's do something now. By next quarter, the budgets we have, we'll try to do something to add to what we currently have. So as we do that phased implementation, it can actually help with solving their issue, not totally, but partially until we get a full, the project done fully. Now, the last part is considering the fact that the finance department is present, you can actually seek additional funding, to reallocate resources from less critical areas. I'm sure there are some areas other than security or HVAC that have resources allocated to them. If those resources are not readily, they don't have any critical issue at the moment, the finance department can approve that you get resources from those areas to cover what you currently need to. So these are ways. So you have, like I said, two major options. You can adopt any of that and see how it goes. What matters most, like I said, is making sure that we have a win-win situation when resolving conflict. Okay, so yeah, so definitely negotiation skills come in the course of you trying to have that win-win situation. You negotiate while resolving conflict. Negotiate with the finance department, or you negotiate with the parties involved. We can read this up, the things that are involved with regards to negotiating. Now we're in the last module of the lesson, building and maintaining relationship. Now we know that building relationship is critical, whether in the FM space or out there. Strong relationships are essential for any effective, operation. So why relationship matter? Good relationship leads to better cooperation. It leads to trust and communication. We know that we need to also have healthy relationship. We need trust and respect. We need safety and acceptance. We need to be open and very positive with communication. We need to also know how to go about conflict resolution or management, knowing fully well that these things are inevitable in our spaces. Now, there is maintaining relationship is just as important as building them, right? So we have the 5-finger rule in facility management that Francisco Rivers introduced. Okay, it's an analogy using the human hand to highlight key aspects of effective teamwork. So with regards to this 5-finger rule, we know that it is important for us to have regular communication, appreciate and recognize contributions or successes within the team to be able to boost morale. It's also important for us to address issues properly. It's also important for us to have continuous improvement in our spaces. So we should always look for ways to improve ourselves and innovations, within our relationships. So this insightful metaphor, like I said, provides valuable guidance that can be applied to various professional settings, not just in facility management. Now we know in our in facility management, using the HVAC or BAS, CMMS, by understanding and implementing the 5-finger rule, we need to understand that these things are important. Let me show us the analogy used. Now, the thumb, which is the first finger, represents diversity in skills and perspective. Now, we know that the thumb, just like we have, if we have our fingers stretched out like this, it seems as if it is totally different from the rest of the fingers, right? Each team actually brings distinct set of skills and different experiences to the table. So it's important that recognizing and valuing these diversities in our team can go a long way in making us build an effective team. Like, for example, we assemble a team of expertise in electrical, HVAC, plumbing, safety, sustainability initiative. When we embrace each person's diversity, it helps us to approach problem solving from a different view, okay, knowing that we can actually have a well-rounded solution, because everyone within the team will suggest ways to become better. Now, the second finger, which is the index finger, represents collaboration. Now, we know that the index finger is most times used in directing or used at pointing at something. All right, so it symbolizes the importance of collaboration. We know that each finger actually works together, right? But we know that when we cut off one of our fingers, for example, we always eventually understand why we need that particular one finger. So in a team, each person is significant, each person is important, and we need to collaborate to eventually achieve a common goal. So we need to establish communication, open channels to foster that mutual respect and mutual and encourage each other to have regular meetings. The only way we can collaborate in a team is to make sure that we get feedback from each person. And we can only do that in our meetings. Do we have toolbox meetings in our facilities? how effective is these toolbox meetings? Do we assign topics to each person in our team, so we can learn from the various, it's just like, for example, you employ a plumber, but then he doesn't know anything about electrical. Okay, he doesn't know anything about HVAC. But we need toolbox meeting where everybody gathers together for a project. This person teaches something about electrical today. The other person teaches something about plumbing today. With that, everybody starts absorbing knowledge that they wouldn't have gotten if there was no collaboration. So that is what this index finger represents. The middle finger represents synergy. So each of the fingers, we see that they have similar traits. So the middle finger is the longest finger and the strongest, actually. And the idea of having the teams to contribute, it means that they will work harmoniously together. Each of them have unique strengths. So we need to recognize the strength of each person in our team. Okay, we shouldn't feel like, oh, because this person is this, is useless for this particular team. No, we try to involve everyone in whatever projects we are, involved with. Now, the ring finger is the adaptability finger, the ring finger, adaptability. This is when everyone tries to, because of the flexibility within the team, you understand that everyone works within a dynamic environment. It's important that we try to embrace new technology. I mentioned earlier one of the barriers in communication, the attitudinal barrier. When some persons feel like they cannot respond to change, they feel, oh, when you say this is how we want to start doing things now, oh, we are using this particular template of reports before, let's start using another new template. And they feel, no, you're making things difficult for them. All right. So understanding that some persons might not feel flexible within the team, allowing them to learn, okay, teaching them from time to time, pairing them up with others that know better, we help them adapt better. Now, the last one is communication, which is the pinky finger. It is important, just like we've been talking about from 5 o'clock, the importance of communication within the team. Communication plays a very vital role. No matter how little we see communication, right? It is really, really important in the team. It ensures that information flows seamlessly among the team. One particular barrier to communication I mentioned is when we lack policies, for example. These policies are not clearly stated to everyone. So because of that, we don't communicate well. We don't even know what to do the next week. We don't know what to do the next day because we don't have meetings and all of that. So these things are really, really important in our teams. We need to try as we can to practice the different steps involved in the 5-figure rule. We can actually read this up. At our own time. Throughout the 6 modules we've gone through today, I'm sure we've been able to pick up something. And I want each of us to respond to one new thing that we have learned and we'll start doing going forward. Can we respond to that within a few minutes before we take questions, if we have more time? What is one new thing you have learned today and you would want to respond, you would want to keep doing?
Is Isaac Emmanuel allowed to give his own?
Please go ahead. Yes, okay. Please.
You have learned a lot of things, but one thing I really hold on to is that your statement, win-win. Win-win techniques. Let me put it that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, what new thing have you learned and hope to start doing going forward? I expect everyone to respond to this question.
Okay, can I talk now?
Please go ahead.
Okay, I think I need to listen more than talking, to allow people to express themselves, to see things from different perspectives before coming to judgment. It's important for me to listen.
Thank you very much for that. Who's next?
My key takeout today is knowing that the customer has a voice of communication. So I learned the various modes. I didn't know that before now.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Who's going next?
Okay, my name is Daphne. Okay, so the major thing I learned is this feedback. So we need to listen to the customer and also vendor to be able to do our work effectively. That's mine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who's going next?
Okay, let me go next.
Hello.
Thank you.
Can I go?
Okay, Mr.
Hello.
Yes, Sean, please hold on. Moyin, please go ahead.
Okay, so I've learned the importance. I've learned that the importance of clear, simple message. Like it is it's better you listen proactively to both customer and stakeholders. Understand what they need well. Before it's not just about passing information. You have to build a relationship too. Get clarity from them and be responsive. So moving forward, I'll continue to practice active listening and always tailor my response to benefit both the stakeholder and the customers.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Moyin just mentioned something now, that listening aspect, that we need to listen very well to both party, and it's part of what I want to say. And at the same time, we don't need to be biased in our judgment. You know, as an FM, both party, you mentioned win-win the other time. So both party, in a way, we have to be considerate and make sure that both of them, they win and give a very good judgment at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, if we have questions now, we can take questions. And if you still want to give your key takeaways, that's fine too.
Hello, ma. Good
Yes,
evening.
please. Yeah.
Thank you for
All
this
right.
awesome presentation. I really gained much, but I don't want to go into details. I just want to ask, like in a scenario that you have a breakdown you have more than one breakdown, and your budget is not enough. What are those things that you would have put in place, like caution that? And I've heard of contingent budget. If at the end of the day your contingent budget doesn't carry the activity or will not be able to caution the effect, or what are those things that you should do?
Okay. It's a little bit related to the scenario we painted earlier, right?
Yeah.
Now, the first thing you need to do is to evaluate the situation, right? Which particular equipment is critical at this moment? Now, we know that most of the equipment we have within our facilities, there is no one that is more important than the other, right? They are all important. So we need to, if the funds you have is not enough to cover it, and you have access to maybe the finance department, you can reach out to them. But if not, whatever you have, find a temporary solution to whatever problem you have at hand. And if it is a problem beyond your reach, what you cannot cover at the moment, reach out to decision makers. Okay, present your case in a way that will make the decision makers to respond swiftly. So what matters most now is how you go about communicating the problem you have and stating clearly what the issue is and the risk that these breakdowns could result to. So you have to learn how to present your case to top management to be able to get important and to be able to get swift response to resolve your issue.
All right.
I hope that answers your question. If any other person has a better answer, you can respond.
I should be able to like communicate very well and present case to top management. Right.
Yes, very key. Yeah. Any other question or contribution? Okay, all right. I think we have come to the end of this session, and I'm sure the assessment is quite easy. It's not a technical topic, so we can respond to the assessment questions. Thank you very much for your time this evening. It's really wonderful to have you, and I'm glad to be here once again. I hope to meet you all sometime, maybe during graduation or one of these events we'll be having soon. Thank you very much and have a lovely night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, bye, everyone.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the class.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, my sister from Edo State. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. I just saw Grace's response. Thank you, Grace. I just saw your response about your ticket takeaways. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this class, and I have so much I learned. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, bye, everyone.
Where do you come from, Edo State?
I'm from Epoma.
You are too much. You are loaded. More
You are
grace.
loaded, honestly.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Yes, sir. Bye.
Bye, man.
Yeah, bye.
Sorry, everyone, please, let's not forget to fill the feedback survey and also our outstanding assessment, please. And prepare for the exam as well. Have a lovely weekend.
You are threatening us with exam.
No, this is not a threat.
All right, have a nice weekend.
Yes, ma'am.
Good night, sir.
And you too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.